journal entry quiet place. So I'm calling this one Quiet Place because it's important to find a quiet place and just breathe. So just breathe. Just for a minute. Just breathe. Okay? I don't care how the day's been, the week, the year, whatever. Just breathe for a minute. Sometimes you just gotta breathe, man. And I've heard quite a few people talking lately about like finding a quiet place and about allowing your mind and your soul to process things, because if you don't, like the term is, it gets bottled up, and everybody knows that bottling stuff up is really not a good idea. I do it a lot, and so I'm really trying to find a new pace of life. I feel like I'm always just running because I feel like I'm always behind. I mean, especially when it comes to money and time. And, just chasing a dollar to pay the bills every day takes up so much of my time, and I always feel like I don't even know how I'm going to make it through the month. And so I'm just always like running to just scrape by. And then that leaves me with very little time. So if I do have any extra time, like right now, at 9:00 at night, I'm at the studio. Like, I'm going to get work done because I have so much to do outside of just making a dollar that all my time is taken, never mind kids and my wife and all that stuff. So like every waking moment, I'm in go mode. Like, I don't stop. I don't play video games. I barely watch TV. Like, I am always on. And so it leaves very little time for me to process. And I think I know I have a lot of things bottled up. And so with this next album, just to give you guys like a little glimpse into it, that's my goal really with the next album, is to process some things that I either don't want to process and have made excuses as to why I don't have time to process, or things that I really just haven't had time to process. Like, I'm pretty type A personality in a lot of ways. I'm pretty chill too, but when I'm in like the zone, I don't stop. Like, if I'm working, I won't eat, I won't sleep, I won't stop. I just keep going until I'm just running myself into the ground, which is also not a good pace of life. So those are things that I'm working on. And I've heard quite a few people talking about allowing your soul, which is basically your mind and your emotions, to give those things space to process, because you get affected by everything around you. It affects your soul, it affects your thoughts, it affects your mind, it affects the way you think about yourself. And for the most part, like, I have a lot of negativity that I have to work through. I have a lot of wrong mindsets, wrong ways of thinking that I need to work through. And I have a lot of things that have either happened to me or happened because of a decision that I made or whatever, that have deeply affected me. And instead of properly dealing with those things and giving myself the time to process them, I just keep going and just ignore them. And I know that's not a good thing. So if you're doing that, maybe you can take this time with me as well to just create some space to process. That's what I'm doing. When I get to come to the studio, it is my creative space, and it's also like my sanctuary, and it's quiet. There's nobody here for the most part, unless I have a client or somebody helping me do something. It's pretty much just me. And so wherever you can find some quiet space, do it. You know, I got to put my phone down because, yeah, I got to make all my posts and keep up with everybody on social media and try to build my following and blah, 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 and all that stuff. But like, that is not nearly as important as my mind and my emotions and my soul and my well-being. And so the same goes for you. You know, we're so good at just keeping the energy so high in our lives that like we don't come down to just like defrag, you know. And I think I know it's really important to do that. And I'm not saying I'm good at it, because I'm horrible at it, but I do know that it's important. And so, you know, I'm my goal for 2019, one of them is definitely to block off time to just process and just think and talk to myself and like write down the thoughts just to get them out and get them away from my mind and just get it off my mind. And I think that that's going to lead to a lot better mindset for me, hopefully. And, you know, if you struggle, and I know a lot of people struggle with a lot of the same things that I do, you know, especially people who are like overthinkers or deal with depression or anxiety or like the things that are cool now to have, but are really not cool if you actually deal with them, like in real life, or if you don't deal with them. It's even worse. So, you know, we have to get our mental health back. It's not okay to be a victim of life, and it's not okay to be a victim of your own busyness and ignore what you need in order to be a healthy individual on a physical level, on a mental level, on a spiritual level. Like, all of those things require time. And yeah, life is busy, but if you can't process yourself and be good in your own mind, like, how are you going to help anybody else? And so I feel like I'm meant to help a lot of other people, but first I have to get my own mind right. And so, you know, my goal, like I said, is to just make some quiet time. I have to find probably more resources to, like, I'm sure there's methods and different things for processing and all that stuff, but for now, you know, I may look into some of that. I probably will, because that's kind of my personality. But just having quiet time with yourself, you know. And for me, that's where the lyrics for my next album are going to come from, is from that place where I just have to go and deal with some things that I haven't dealt with for too long, and whether consciously or subconsciously, they are affecting me, and I have to move them because they're barriers to where I'm trying to go. And so, you know, for me, I'm getting all my beats together for the album, and that's going to be like my canvas or whatever, my notepad or whatever you want to call it. And from there, once I have that, I'm going to start getting those thoughts out and processing. And that's how I do it like everybody else, I'm sure, does it in a different way. I definitely talk to myself sometimes and just try to process things or whatever. But quiet, complete quiet. Like, turn the music off, turn the TV off, the phone off, whatever. Like, turn it all off and just sit with yourself for a little while and listen. Like, if you pray, then talk to God and involve him in the conversation. If you just want to talk to yourself or whatever, just talk out loud. Like, if you talk to the universe, talk to the universe. Like, whatever you do, then do that, because it's important for you to have that inner conversation to process through some of the things. Like, you may not even know some of the things that are affecting you until you sit and actually allow your mind to just kind of unwind and show you what you've been dealing with and what has been bothering you and messing with you mentally or whatever, and start to talk through those things, start to write them down, start to get them out. If you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. If you need to talk to me, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of on social media, so send me a message. And let's not be victims of our own busyness and our own soul. Our soul should be free. And everything in the world, tries to trap us to, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like the system or whatever. Like it tries to make us think a certain way, or it keeps us too busy to actually process or be healthy mentally. And, then everybody gets on different drugs and stuff like that. And I'm not saying there's not a time and place for therapy or perhaps prescription intervention, because there is. Like, I've always said no to it because I hate pills, but I understand that sometimes they can be helpful for a period of time to cope and move on to the next phase of life. But the whole point is to keep moving through the things that hinder us. And I think a major way that we can do that, especially for those of us, which is like so many people that I read their social media, or they are in touch with me in one way or another, whether in real life or on the internet or whatever. So many of us deal with kind of severe mental anguish, maybe is a good word. And we have to deal with those things. There is no other way around it except to just get into it and let our minds process it. So I think I've said that about 50 times already, so I might be beating a dead horse. If so, I apologize, but I think it's really important. And I know for me, it's really, really important. Like, I need this in my life. I have to slow the pace of my life down somehow and make that space, make that time, prioritize it, because my family needs me to, my friends need me to, every one of you needs me to, and I need me to. So that's going to be a big part of my focus for 2019, and you guys will see a lot of it on the next album, because I have to deal with reality as it is, and it's not where I want it to be. I thought I would be a lot farther ahead by now, but I'm not. And so I have to deal with that. I have to figure out what wrong ways of thinking have caused me to be held back, what habits, what patterns, what ways of thinking, like whatever it is that is slowing me down, or holding me back from being the best person that I can be and the most productive, the most beneficial to others. That is really important for me to figure out, because then I will start to hopefully move into a place where I can become more of myself, because I feel like I've lost a lot of myself, just through life. Like, you kind of get conditioned by a certain way of life that is not even how you want life to be, and you start to accept that way of life as reality and as just the way it is, or whatever it is, what it is. And that's a horrible place to be. I have the creative power within me to change that. And so I'm going to start changing that. And I hope you will too, because it's super important. Find that quiet place and breathe.